decades that you've been talking about, the United States fought a war in Iraq, which resulted in massive deficits on the part of the government. Can you explain the role of this on the financial crisis?
Oh, yes. It played two parts. First of all, as the economy of Iraq was destroyed, the invasion of Iraq destroyed Iraq as a functioning state. Iraq used to be a major oil exporter. In round numbers, Rick, the number of barrels of Iraqi oil we have received is 0. The price of oil went up. We were paying $4 per gallon of gas. But yet, to preserve the illusion of wealth, America got deeper and deeper into debt. America's greatest export is IOUs. The Chinese buy them. George Bush took national debt from $5.7 trillion to $10.7 trillion. Of that $10.7 trillion deficit, accumulated deficit, national debt, that Barack Obama inherited when he became president, 80% of it had been run up by 3 Republican presidents in the entire history of this republic. Reagan, Bush 1, Bush 2. But because it is such a nebulous concept, and because the Democrats do such a lousy job of getting the message out, voters all around the country think that we stand tall, we ride high in the saddle if we vote Republican.
Although too many fewer than before. Republican registration is now almost cratered to record low levels.
Oh yes, the Republican Party has rightly become seen as the party of negativity, the party of bankruptcy.
And financial irresponsibility, as we've seen.
Massive financial irresponsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So, where do we go from here in order to try to fix this mess? What do we do to attempt to fix this mess?
Oh, that's a massive question. Easily asked, almost impossible to answer. It gets down to the fact that banks and insurance companies around the world are holding these toxic assets, these worthless derivatives, these CDOs. In the 1990s in Japan, the banks were essentially insolvent, and they fooled and futzed around for 10 years before they killed the dead ones. Sweden had the same problem at around the same time, a few years before. Sweden killed the zombie banks. The government took them over, fixed them, and then reprivatized them. I myself used to work for a bank that was taken over by the federal government. Southern California Savings was taken over by the federal government, turned around, and then resold to private investors. That was a fairly small outfit. Bigger than that was Continental Illinois in the 1980s. So we have the huge problem of insolvency in banks. There's an elaborate game of kabuki theatre being played right now, where I have to tell you that we're pretending the banks aren't insolvent and the banks are going along with this. There's supposed to be coming up an auction of these CDOs bankrolled by massive government loans, but the problem is the banks don't want to sell the loans, because if they have an asset worth this and they only get this, they have to write off the difference, don't you see? And that makes them insolvent. So that is in fact going to be the topic of our next show on the economy. It's such a huge topic to get into.
Ray, can I ask you a question? Do you think that President Obama is doing the right things to help ease this crisis at this time?
In my opinion, yes and no. Mostly yes, but with a worrying little bit of no, as I've just said. There's no question that the central bank of this country, the Federal Reserve, and central banks around the world had to pump massive amounts of money into the system, greater even than the cost of World War II, as I told you. That was done under Bush, and Barack Obama, President Obama, as he now is, will continue this policy. President Bush, under the baleful influence of Hank Paulson, pursued a policy, though, of not shutting down the bad banks. Now, I regret to say that President Obama is continuing this policy. There's going to be a so-called auction coming up. First, we had the stress tests, which were a bit of a joke. Some banks were told to raise more capital. But yet the problem remains, these toxic assets in the vault. They've got to be valued. Now, many leading economists, Krugman, Stiglitz, the two Nobel Prize winners, are saying the FDIC should be allowed to do its job. My bank has just been through an examination by the FDIC. My bank's only $3 billion. That's just a blip on the, not even a blip on the radar screen. In my opinion, the resources of the FDIC should be remarshalled and sent through all the banks in order of size, in order of importance to the economy. And if they're bankrupt, shut them down. Take them into ownership, public ownership, fix them and sell them. As with Sweden, as with Japan, as with my former bank, Southern California Savings.
Well, thank you, Ray. I'm afraid that's all the time we do have for tonight. So I want to thank our guests, Raymond Friedman and Richard Gunther, for taking the time to come to the show this evening. We will be back with part 2 of this series on the economy in August. That show will focus on jobs and other financial issues that are vital to you and to your family. If you have comments or questions on any show, you can always contact us through the Conejo Democrats. Their website is conegodemocrats.com. So, until the next time, be safe, stay well, and keep your eye on the issues.